Well, hello and welcome, Veridian Associates, to step number 4 in the 8-step Veridian process. This is Meredith Burkage again, member of the Veridian Corporate Executive Team. And today I am pleased to be able to host the step number 4 CD with 3 of our most successful independent associates out there in the field, some of our top leadership. I would like to introduce today our partner, Henri Amanier, who will be with us, and also Jenna Marzullo, who is a partner with Veridian, and then also Executive Director Bobby Gatos, who is on the call from New Jersey. And I would like to go ahead and hear from each of you. Just introduce yourself to our listeners. Henri, would you go first?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you very much, Meredith. My name is Henri Amanier. I currently reside in Little Silver, New Jersey. I am a business owner. I've been a business owner pretty much all my life. And I was introduced to the Veridian opportunity by a very good friend that I'd been in business with before. And it seemed like every time this fellow called me up and said, you want to make some money, we made some money. So when he gave me a call and said that he would like me to come to this opportunity meeting, I didn't even hesitate. It was just, there was no question about it. I'm going. Give me the time, give me the location. And I showed up ready to learn.
Well, thank you, Henri, and thank you for being on this call as well. And Jenna Marzullo from Connecticut. How about you, doll?
Hi, Meredith. Thanks so much for having me. Yes, my name is Jenna Marzullo from Winsted, Connecticut, and a partner with Veridian Energy. You know, I was sort of reflecting on how I was invited to see this opportunity, being that today is actually the 2-year anniversary of the first day I sat down in a one-on-one and heard about this wonderful new company called Veridian. And I just have to tell you, for the timing in my life, it really came down to being able to empower myself through helping others. You know, helping others is something that's core to who I am. I have a background in service, personal growth and development, social services. And so to me, the concept of being able to help other people succeed was something I already did. I just wasn't getting paid to do it, quite frankly. So to me, it was the best of both worlds. Forever grateful for that first meeting that day, and just been going nonstop ever since.
And not only the first meeting, but the first Veridian associate ever to enroll in corporate history. So happy anniversary, Miss Jenna. And Executive Director Bobby Gatos. Say hello.
Hi, Meredith. Thank you for asking me to be part of this. You know, I have a funny story because I was introduced to Veridian by a complete stranger who told me to go up to this guy's office who I didn't know, and I found myself intrigued by what I heard. So I have to tell you, I've been introduced to one of the most incredible opportunities ever with Veridian. And I've been a contractor for 35 years, a pretty successful one. I made a lot of money in my life, but none of it was residual, and this is. And I can't wait for my business to keep growing.
And growing it is. As a result of all of your excellence, you 3 are some of the most dynamic leadership that we have, as I mentioned. And so, listeners, I just encourage you to glean all of the wisdom that you can from this team as we spend the next 20 minutes together. So let's go ahead and get started. We're talking about contacting and inviting today, and this is really the first serious action step as people are getting started. You know, you've been following the first few steps. You've made your list. You've thought about your why. You've kind of set some goals for yourself. And now it's time for you to reach out and to actually share Veridian with other people. And it's a critical step. And so what we want to do is really spend some time helping you to get prepared for it. Because, Bobby G., you know how important preparation is for the new associate before they start calling their list. Why don't you go ahead and just give your pearls of wisdom at this point?
Well, what to say and how to say it is probably one of the most important things that any associate needs to learn. And I say that because you have to know your content. You have to know about the business. The 5 core beliefs, you know, your belief level in the business has to be over the top, and you really have to know what you're talking about. You're going to have one chance at the prospect when you talk to them, whether it's a friend, whether it's a business associate, or somebody else that you're working with. So there's a couple things that you can do to build that confidence, and one of them is called role-playing, where you sit there on the phone or in person with somebody and actually have them practice talking to you. It builds your confidence. Another way to do it is if you look in a mirror and you actually watch yourself talking to yourself, and you'll actually see what you look like and what you sound like when you are in front of another person. The other thing is to act professional all the time. This is a business, and if you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. And the last thing I think that's probably a key ingredient, you have to have your story prepared. And that's one thing that you need to have with you at all times. If somebody asks you, how are you doing? What have you been doing with yourself? You need to be able to tell them at a moment's notice. And you should know your story. It's your story. And those are the key ingredients. And I really, really believe that if you're prepared for anything, you'll be successful at this business.
Well, and I think and I've heard you say too, but failing to prepare is preparing to fail, and I think that's a very apropos saying for this point. And you touched on something with the rehearsal issue, where in front of the mirror, wherever you are. So Jenna, I mean that might make some people feel a little silly, and especially the next thing we're going to ask them to do, which is rehearsing with a coach. And why is it really, really important that you do this step?
Meredith, it's such a good question. I've heard a lot in this business that you're in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. So this is really your first chance as a new associate to really start accepting that support that you have from your coach or the person that you're working with. I mean, it is critical to practice, to rehearse. Again, you're not calling your friends and family to invite them to a movie. Like Bob said, you're keeping it professional. There might be questions that you're being asked that you don't know how to handle. This coach is the expert. They have done this time and time again. They've gotten success from it. And so this business is about, checking your ego at the door. You may be phenomenal in the business that you're in, but again, you're in a business where you are open and coachable, and you're going to listen to the experts that have been doing this before. And Bob said, you only get one chance with most of these people. So the more that you rehearse, the more that you learn how to be coachable and support. This coach, they have a vested interest in your success. Really, you're on their team. Your success is the foundation of why they're successful. And so, with that team-based approach, accept that help. Let them coach you. Go through the steps. Go through some objections. And before you know it, you'll be feeling confident and comfortable to do it on your own.
Thanks, Jenna. And a couple of minutes ago, Bobby kind of talked about being ready at any time, and to really give your story. And Henri, you're one of the best connectors that I've seen in a very long time. You're very good about meeting people, being outgoing, and striking up conversations and whatnot. So I think you're a really good person to kind of get into a little bit of deeper dive on why it really is important that being ready, with whatever is necessary to be ready. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what those things should be?
Sure. And I totally agree with Bobby. That's you got to be ready all the time. Somebody should be able to wake you up in the middle of a sound sleep and ask you, what do you do for a living? And you need to be able to have that real quick. There it is. The pat answer that I use is I've been asked to help promote the green energy program in New Jersey and a few other states. And the best advice I could give to people is to ask questions. End every statement with a question, because the person asking the question controls the conversation. You don't want to have somebody else controlling the conversation. So I've been asked to help promote the Green Energy Project in New Jersey and a few other states. Have you heard about what we're doing? And they might say yes, they might say no. I would ask them, have you ever gotten those things in the mail that tell you that you can save some money by switching to a third-party energy provider? And invariably, everybody says yes now. This has had to change, but they say yes. I say, what do you do with those? And they invariably say, well, we throw them away, or they may have even chosen another one. And I say, well, what I do is I get paid to educate people on their rights as a consumer, how they can save some money while going green at the same time. And I would finish that up by saying we have about 50 million potential customers. Do you know anyone that would like to make some extra cash? And, you've got the cookie, you've got the thing that's important here. You're not trying to get somebody, you're ultimately trying to give them an opportunity, but ask them that question and see what they say.
Well, and I think a big takeaway, from what you're talking about, Henri, is just that you're ready and that you know the questions. I love what you just said. Asking the question controls the conversation. I mean, that's such a good point, and so that you can have that confidence to, when you bump into somebody, when you have presented an opportunity, you don't have to pass, because inside your stomach starts kind of getting all squirrely, and you're going, what do I say? What do I say? How do I answer this? And then later on, when the opportunity passes, kicking yourself, going, darn, why didn't I tell them? Why didn't I say that? And so this is the importance of just being, really ready to go. And I know that you, Henri, especially, built a lot of your success with using the tools, maximizing things like the invite packs, putting those together so that you were able to share those with people, so you're actually getting an invitation to the invitation. So there are a lot of tools that are available to us here at this stage that will help you. And Bobby G., I know that you have a different kind of tool entirely that has really worked for you and your team. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, first thing I want to say, tools equal duplication. I use what's called an intro call, and having a call that in 3 minutes explains the business with a high-level overview of our business is great. One of the biggest mistakes to a new prospect is them going out there and talking about what Veridian does and not knowing all the facts. Because when somebody tells somebody a story, they usually lose 50% of the content. So having a tool that actually explains in 3 minutes the whole business without making any mistakes is really duplicatable, and that's how we make money here. So, and the other thing is, what you do, your new associate will do too. So there's a thing called monkey see, monkey do. And if we can duplicate, we'll all make money in this business, and the tools are a great way to do that.
Not that we're calling anyone monkeys, but in any case, for certain. But you're absolutely right. It's leading by example, and I think that as they'll remember how you invited them and what tools you use, and they will duplicate that behavior. So Jenna, some of the people might be thinking, yeah, but I'm just getting started. I don't really have. I just don't have any extra money to buy these tools. Why can't I just talk about it? Why can't I just tell people? What do you think about that?
Well, Meredith, I lived this. As you mentioned, I have the great honor of being Veridian's first associate, so you can imagine the early days were quite similar to being a caveman rubbing two sticks together to try to light, a little spark for a fire. We really didn't have much to work with, so we told our story. And again, Bobby G. just mentioned this, but this business is all about what you can duplicate. So I've heard the phrase a lot, even though something may work, it may not duplicate. So, I know almost everything there is to know about Veridian, the compensation plan, how we evolved, the corporate team, and I'll tell you, that actually worked to my disadvantage in the early days of my career here at Veridian. And when the tools were introduced, it was like getting a set of matches instead of rubbing those two sticks together. I mean, here was something that I didn't have to, think of what to say, and it was unbelievable. I have to say, myself and my team, when things like videos and intro calls and invite packs were introduced into our businesses and our teams, it just did a complete turnaround, and myself and a lot of my team members rank advanced extremely quickly because, again, it duplicated. And, two other quick points about why I'm so passionate about using tools. Number one, I've lived it without them and with them, and I'll tell you, you don't want to live without them. But also, it's easy in this business to personally get invested in your message. And what the tools allow you to do is they allow you just to be the messenger, not the message. So again, people might reject the message you're giving them. They might, and that's okay. But again, it allows you to stay a little bit emotionally, separate from it and not take it so personal, because after all, this is a business. And then the last thing that to me is the most critical is that tools allow you to stay compliant. So they almost protect you from yourself. You can imagine in those early days, we said things, we unintentionally maybe said things that were a little exaggerated. So again, use the tools, use the tools, use the tools.
Well said, Jenna. Thank you. So let's go ahead and shift gears here. So we're kind of walking through, rehashing what we've just talked about. You're ready. You're getting prepared. You're rehearsing. You're with your coach. You got your info pack, your invite pack in your pocket. The words of your story on your tongue, and you're ready to go. But there still comes the question: is how do I lead? How do I approach this person, knowing that all people are different? Henri, again, a great, strong recruiter. How do you make up your mind which tack to take when you're talking to a person?
almost exclusively, I'm looking for an associate. A customer is someone who will kind of come as a result of somebody not wanting to be an associate. But I use a word, an acronym called FORM, and it's family, occupation, recreation, motivation. So I want to know what their hot buttons are. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I want to take and know a little something about them before I just use a canned speech. I might have something, I know that I've got something that they're going to want, but I just have to find out which one of those things is the most important thing to them. Are they looking to make some more money? Are they looking to make a lot more money? Is going green and saving the planet their thing? Is sustainability, the big green picture? So I need to find that out, and you always get more information by using your mouth and your ears in the proportion which way they were created. Listen and look, and you look for clues. Talk less, listen more.
Very good. That's great. And in addition to that, kind of think of how you're leading it. So you lead with the opportunity, you lead with the product or the energy, you lead with the culture or the vision or the mission. But there's also a style that's involved, as you're kind of cultivating your presentations and how you talk to people. And Bobby G, you're obviously a really charismatic person. How do you choose which invitation style is best for each situation?
Well, depending on who you're speaking to, like a business executive, a mom or dad that's a homemaker, because now dads are homemakers too now, or your friends, I use a couple different approaches. One of them is, if it's a business executive, I'll say, I respect your opinion. Could you take a look at something I'm working with? Or a mom and dad, would you like to earn money from home? Friends, I say to them, could you do me a favor? And listen to something that I'm doing. And I'm always flexible, and that's one of the things that is really, really important. Remain flexible and be able to adapt to whoever you're talking to. So those are just some quick ones. And, at another time at a training, you can learn even more tools.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point, Bobby G. And this is just a hint of all of the wisdom and the support and the training that you're going to get on this CD. You're going to get so much more. So Jenna, I'm just kind of wrap this all up. What do you think the ultimate goal of the invitation is when it's all said and done?
Yeah, this comes up a lot, Meredith. I have a lot of people call me, the ones that I coach one-on-one, and sometimes they get discouraged and they say, somebody came to the meeting and it wasn't the right time for them. And, I say you were successful because you got them to see that program. And that is a point I want to really drive home. The ultimate goal of the invitation, I know you want it to be that they sign up, but honestly, the success is if you've piqued their curiosity, if you've created some urgency from them, and if you've gotten that person to agree to be shown come to a meeting, sit down in a one-on-one, watch a video. I mean, regardless of what you invite them to, you have been successful if you have, again, created that curiosity and urgency. And that's really how I want people to approach that and think about the invitation. It's not about the end result. As much as we'd like it to be, we don't control people's decisions. That's not our job. Our job and our goal, and when we can feel proud, is when we have invited someone and gotten a commitment from them. So that is a point that I just think if everyone keeps that in their mind, it would be a lot easier to go about it because we're not looking for that end goal.
And Henri, I know you've been in this industry for a long time, experienced a lot of success. There's a big difference between what Jenna just talked about, kind of that commitment, and the actual appointment itself. And so what have you seen in your years here that you'd like to share?
Number one is to pre-qualify the person. You're going to pre-qualify them either by asking a couple of questions, but the absolute best way to pre-qualify somebody is to use a screening tool. Use the invite pack. If they're not going to watch the invite pack, if they're not going to watch the video or listen to a phone call, a pre-recorded phone call, you know what? Move on. Go to the next person on your list. Their timing's not right. So absolutely, positively, don't waste your time. Use that screening tool. Jenna and Bobby G, you the whole time. I love listening to you guys. I'm learning so much here. It's tremendous. what I've found is there are a couple of key things you can do. When you're talking to somebody, use this sentence. You're pretty good at keeping appointments, aren't you? Confirm it 3 times. If you're making an appointment, confirm it 3 times. That could be an appointment to show the program or pick up the video or listen to the call. Listen, guys, here's the stats. In all my years, these are the stats. This works all the time. 100% of the people who say they're going to try will not come. 100% of the people that say they might come will not come. 100% of the people that say, if I can get a babysitter, I might come. They're not going to come. 50% of the people that absolutely guarantee you that they're going to come will not be there. 100% of the ones you pick up will show up. That's the way to do it.
Nice, Henri. Thanks. And Bobby G, just final thoughts, because we've kind of come full circle here. It's time for everybody to get busy. There are going to be some people that don't show up. There are going to be some people that don't keep their commitment to be there. What do you think is the most important takeaway from that piece to understand?
Well, the most important thing is don't quit. Pushing a little more, extending a little more effort, making that extra phone call, stopping by one more potential prospect's house, and not giving up or quitting is a key component to success. I love this quote, and I love it because I made it up. Quitting is for quitters. Now, don't you love that? A little more persistence, a little more creative thinking can turn what seems to be a failure into a glorious success. There's no winning in quitting. So there is no defeat either except from within, and there's no really insurmountable barrier except our own inherent weakness of purpose. So do you guys got a purpose? You should know it.
All righty then. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Henri. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Bobby G. And thank you for listening, and we look forward for more coaching and teaching on the next CD.